So I'm here with author, singer, songwriter, and activist Vivek Shraya. Vivek, thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks so much for having me.
Now I have to talk about your upcoming cover of Babyface songs. Who doesn't love Babyface?
Everybody loves Babyface.
Yeah, tell me how that started.
So I grew up in the 90s, and all of like my favorite R&B songs happened to be written by Babyface.
Yes.
So like Red Light Special, Water Runs Dry, all these like monster songs.
Gotta let your body flow. I like 'em attempted, and I like 'em in control. Baby, it's yours, all yours.
When I was a teenager, I was like, oh, one day I would love to work with Babyface. Like, he'd be my #1, like, you know, producer to work with. And
Absolutely.
That didn't happen, but I thought this would be sort of like the next best thing, is to sort of pay tribute to Babyface and all these great songs that he's written that have really influenced me.
I know you have a book coming out, and you have a book which I love called God Loves Hair. What inspired that?
A lot of LGBT, lesbian, gay, bi, trans literature tends to feature, you know, white stories, white lives. And when I was reading these books, I often thought, like, wow, like what would these stories be like if they were written about a South Asian growing up
Yes.
with immigrant parents and in a Hindu household. So I was like, I should write those stories. And so God Loves Hair is like my first collection of short stories, and it deals with all those intersections.
As a gay South Asian male, how important is it for you to speak about these issues and get that message out?
It's incredibly important for me, especially, I mean, so much of my adult life as an artist and as an activist and as a person has been about trying to provide the kinds of resources or create the kinds of supports I didn't have growing up. Having, you know, stories about all those intersections, what it means to be brown and gay, and, you know, having immigrant parents, it's so important to have those stories, because if I had heard those stories when I was a teenager, it would have made such a huge difference in my life.
What's the community reaction been to your book and your experiences and the act of being open about them too?
The community has been very, very supportive. Like, the queer community in general has been very supportive of the book. One of the highlights for me is how many sort of South Asian queer youth have connected to the book, who like really, really connected to some of the stories, and that to me like really means a lot, because that's, in a way, they're kind of the key audience, you know, they're the people I want to reach.
So let's come back to singing and songwriting for a second. Now, you're telling me about all the experiences you brought into your book. How different is it to bring that into songwriting?
I mean, for me, I prefer the format of songwriting just because I've been doing it for so long, and it's nice having a limitation. Like I was saying, you know, you have 3 minutes and you have to get everything you want to say in that 3 minutes. So it really forces you to be concise. But ultimately, I think the writing process is the same. You know, you have something you want to convey, like you're in love or you're upset, and it's like, how do you put that into words? How do you take what's up in here or what's in here and either create it into music or, you know, put it on the page.
Yeah. Now let's talk about some of your activism, because you are very involved in the community.
Okay.
How important is it for you to be involved in your community?
Like I said earlier, for me, like I really want to provide a lot of the supports and resources I didn't have. So, you know, I was involved with supporting our youth for a while. They have a writing group called Pink Ink, and it's for LGBT youth. It's a drop-in program. It's a great program. And for a couple years, I was a facilitator there, and that was such a like rewarding experience. Being able to bring in guest speakers and exposing youth to all kinds of the richness that Toronto has to offer is such a great thing to be able to do.
Now, many of us are inspired by singers, and we're inspired by authors. And you are writing books, and you are writing songs and singing songs too. How do you think your work is inspirational to the community?
I mean, what I hope is that people feel inspired to tell their own stories and share their own experiences. Like that's the biggest thing, because again, when we're talking about marginalized communities, whether it's the LGBT community or the South Asian community or the South Asian queer community, all of these sort of marginalized communities, so many of our stories aren't told or seen. And so if people, you know, feel inspired after hearing my work or seeing my work, you know, to do that themselves, that would be amazing.
So for those who want to read your books and listen to your music, where can they do so?
You could just go to my website, which I'm sure will appear right here, vivekshreya.com.
Awesome. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thanks so much for having me.